because I'm like one of those really punctual people, and I like to get everybody in and out to the extent that we can do that. So, welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. I want to welcome Chief Baker, our new Tawnytown Police Chief. And if you haven't gotten a chance to meet all of us, so Jeremy Willett is PAB member. Tom Baird is actually on the ACC, but Tom usually comes and sits second chair so he can report back to the ACC on my behalf. Stacy Schaefer, Lisa Knight, Ian Shaw, and Steve Miller. So, and welcome to everyone who's here. So, I think we've established a quorum because everybody is here, so we're in good shape, and we don't really need to approve minutes from the last meeting because they were recorded. So that takes care of that part of the housekeeping. I distributed by email to everyone, and I gave Chief Baker a copy of it this morning, of the spreadsheet tracking form that hopefully you've all had a chance to take a look at. It's pretty basic. We just wanted to have some mechanism that we can put on the website, the county website with the PAB, where citizens can say, okay, what has the PAB done? What are they, what kinds of cases are they hearing? Have they heard any cases? And so we've had, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've had at least one Public Information Act request, right? Okay. So we figured this is kind of a good way to just put the information out, be transparent about it, without giving any specific details, obviously, about the officers involved or real details about the incident. Essentially just that there was a report filed, there was an investigation done, here's the outcome, here's what the ACC had to say about it. So if you have any feedback that you want to give me, John Hess is not here today, but he emailed me and said from his standpoint it looks okay. But if anybody else has comments, questions, suggestions, we are open. It's a work in progress. Yes.
I think it's great. The only thing that I saw that I don't know how we would be able to do it, but like for instance, if you have an allegation, and this actually applied to us, where the primary charge was like a serious offense.
Right.
And then we find like a smaller administrative charge.
Right.
Instead of it saying administratively charged, which might look like it was like the most serious.
On the
event.
serious event, yes.
Is there a way that we can break down a drop down
Yeah.
per charge, or I don't know how that would work.
Yeah. We'll look at that because I know exactly because I was thinking about that case and thinking, yeah, how can we do this?
Because it might be a bit misleading if,
Right.
if the primary charge says this
Right.
serious offense, and then
Right.
it says that they were
Yeah.
administratively charged.
Right. So maybe one way we could do is work it on the end where, and when I look at this now, even with my cheaters on, I have to struggle to see it. So apologies for the tiny print. But maybe where we make our complaint section a little more detailed. Primary complaint, or we'll have to, Lisa and I will stew on that as to how we could,
We can either add another column or just add some more detail to the drop down of the outcome.
Yeah.
So either way, we can look at that, address it,
Yeah.
definitely.
yeah, because I know what you mean.
That makes
Because
sense.
if the administrative charge was not related to that more serious, allegation, but was related to a policy violation, that's nice to be able to differentiate that. I agree.
And if I can say, because this was kind of the genesis for me of having this, was so that we could keep track of it, right? When people are like, well, what have you done, or what is going
Right,
on? So we
right.
can track it. So I don't know if you maybe want to have two versions, one that's
Internal.
a public version
Right.
and one that's an internal version that would have a clear, that way there's two that we need to be, this, I think initially was for us to sort of track these, so at the end of the year, you
Right.
could do your report.
Well, and not only that,
We
but
would
I
all be on the
like
same
the
page.
idea of having a publicly accessible one. So I
Right.
think,
So maybe though it wouldn't have
We can
like,
tweak.
or it would be the clear, clean part for the public to see versus having, so that there's only one outcome.
Wouldn't that also be subject to a FOIA request, though, if you have a document that you're keeping internally that?
yeah, see, I don't want to have two separate ones. It's got to be a public,
I'm pretty sure it can be.
yeah. Yeah,
adjust
I think we
it.
can adjust it. I think we can tweak that. Anybody else have other reflections, suggestions?
Yeah, that's that's a good point. You
Yeah.
wanna make sure that it's.
Right.
Whatever's, it's not like we're trying to keep it secret, we're trying to make it so that it's clear to the public versus being confused of where they're like, wait a minute, was this a
Right.
charge like you're saying, or was this a different?
And a lot of the FOIA requests that we get are just mostly macro data numbers. Unless it's something about a specific incident, they just
Right.
want, and if you have a document like this,
You
that's
can-
probably gonna satisfy.
That's
the
an
majority
easy
of
way to get
FOIA
that
requests.
information out there, yeah, without reinventing the wheel. Agreed. All right, well, we'll work on tweaking that a little bit. But I think as long as everybody's basically comfortable with this format, we'll use that as our template. All right, awesome.
Where are we in getting the year-to-date information in that?
I just need to get it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So
I've got it
we can work on that,
compiled.
and it's a part of the year-end
Right.
report?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. If we could get this, if we can get the spreadsheet basically incorporated into the website after the, like, beginning of the year, I think that's a good target. So, all right, perfect. Thank you all very much. Okay, before I go to the follow-up on the role-playing, I just want to do a quickie housekeeping, which is the 2024 calendar for the PAB meetings. And so I looked on my handy-dandy calendar, and the dates will be March 4th, June 3rd, and we'll put this out, we'll put this on the website too. September 9th, and then December 2nd. It's always the first Monday, except Labor Day screws up that
What was the
scenario.
June date, ma'am?
June 3rd. And we meet here in this conference room, or whatever you want to call this, hearing room, at 10 o'clock. That's okay. March 4, June 3, September 9, December 2.
Do you have somebody that would put out a meeting invite for everybody that?
Tim, can we get
throw and
Bethany to
populate
do
the
that?
calendars? If not,
Yeah.
Tim, I'll have Sue do it, but if we can do that,
Yeah.
that way.
That way it's a little reminder. Yeah, sure. All right. Writing that down. Okay. Okay, quick touching base on, several of us, Lisa, myself, Tom, and then Dean Horvath, who's also on the ACC, participated in, a training exercise with Sheriff's Department, Carroll County Health Department folks. I think were basically running it. Mark can fill me in on more details if I screw it up. But it was designed to add on to the existing training that the Health Department does, the mental health first aid training. And I don't know if any of your officers participated in it, but from the standpoint of being a role player, I thought it was a great training. First of all, I enjoyed it because I like to do that kind of thing. But it made them stop and think about those preconceived biases that you have in your head. And so my particular role play was, and Lisa and I were together in the same group. So it was, excuse me, an older person who was acting, out of control in an assisted living facility. So we took turns being the old person and being the staff person. And it was, up to the officer to figure out what was going on and if there was something that they could do in that scenario. And it was very interesting to see how they responded, because after each session, we had like a little, review. We would break it down and look at everything. So, and Tom's was, well, you can tell
I was,
him here.
kind of a distressed veteran.
Right, like a
And
PTSD.
How, yeah, and
Yeah.
how the officers figured out that if there was a veteran as part of the team, they would kind of take point. It was actually really good.
Yeah,
And, I've actually run into a couple of the officers since then, they remembered the whole thing. So
Right.
It was good
Right.
training, though.
Any thoughts from your standpoint?
You know, I actually thought that the debriefing was really helpful,
Mhm,
really
agreed.
interesting.
Yes.
Because they had was it a psychologist?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
the-
Someone
from the health
from the
department.
health department, right.
But she was very good, and she was sort of trying to make the experience consistent, to say, you know, because, you know, there was, 5 groups or 6 groups of officers came
Right,
through.
right.
And there were different experiences each time, even although we kind of role-played the same. So it was interesting to see that there were different ways that it was handled.
Yeah.
That was, you know,
Yeah.
but not vastly different, none of them wrong,
Right.
just, you know, how can we, you know, what are some standard things we can put in place? That was
Right.
really interesting from our side.
Anyway, so we all had a good time, and we hope that it helped out, and I hope they do it again next year, because I would love to do it. So anyway, thanks for keeping us in the loop on that one. Okay, a couple of quick things I want to touch on before we hear from law enforcement. Sheriff's Department has brought to ACC's attention that it might be nice to have a backup trial board citizen appointee, because we have one, Mike Fry. But in the event that apparently the scheduling of those is pretty tough to get everybody coordinated and to get the administrative, you know, law judge on board. So they've requested that we think about having, appointing or suggesting, I don't even know if it's an appointment, but a second, like, backup trial board member. So I think that is probably a smart move, just to have one, because unlike each of us, that's not a specific term. You know, it's sort of a rolling admission, for lack of a better word. So I'm putting that out there, so if you know, if anyone has an idea of someone who might be a good fit for that, let me know, and then I'll communicate with Tim's office, and we can kind of see if we can get that person lined up to at least be an alternate. Yeah, Tim?
You might want to throw out about the charging committee. It's not too early to start looking for.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. So, all of the PAB members were appointed at the same time, and all of the ACC members were appointed kind of at different times. The term, it's a 2-year term with a kind of an automatic if you decide to re-up for the next 2 years. So we want to get ahead of the game, so to speak, and be thinking about other people that might be good fit for both PAB and ACC positions. So again, if you have thoughts on that, or you have names that bubble up that you want us to, you know, kind of talk to and let them know what's involved, now that we actually kind of know what's involved. We didn't when we got into it, but that would be helpful, so that I'd like to make this, I feel like we were really fortunate both with PAB and ACC members that initial round, and I'd like to have some consistency so that every 4 years you're not going into a new group of people. We're gonna try to look at some way to stagger those terms a little bit, so there's some overlap, so you don't have an institutional memory loss. Anyway, but just, you know, if things come to you, or people say to you, hey, how do I do this, and they want to talk to someone about it, let them know that they can contact my office, okay? All right, glasses, okay, one other quick one. All right, so update from the ACC, Tom can fill in what I've missed, but since our last PAB meeting, we have had 4 cases. The one in September was from Westminster City Police. It was a misuse of vehicle policy and policy violation. That one, the ACC did administratively charge the officer with a level B1 offense. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but was the discipline accepted from the officer in that particular case?
The first one, the officer is no longer with us.
Okay,
It's kind of a
all
moot
right.
point.
Okay, gotcha. The next case was in October. That was from Tawny Town. That was policy violation, failure to report pursuit in violation of pursuit procedures resulting in injury. That was a pretty significant event, and that was administratively charged, and the ACC recommended a level D1 disciplinary. And I don't know if Chief Baker knows or is up to speed on that, or has any information as to whether that discipline was accepted by the officer or
The
not.
discipline was accepted, ma'am.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. Next, we had 2 cases at our last meeting, which was November 8th. The first was Sheriff's Department matter, and that, I think, did that originate from the PAB website? I think it did. Is that the one that got?
I don't think it did, neither of them.
Oh, okay, that was not, okay, sorry, that one's still pending, okay. So that was a racial profiling, that was not sustained, non-administratively charged, and the officer was exonerated. And then the second case that day was Westminster City Police. Again, it was racial profiling and then a policy violation. That's the one that we were all alluding to, where the racial profiling was not sustained, but the policy violation was sustained. And so the officer was administratively charged with a level A1. And has that,
The officer has accepted.
okay, great. Okay, so that's the update from the ACC. And what I'm doing is making a, yeah, right, what we're talking about. So Lisa and I will get together on that and put together an updated version and tweak our tracker and hopefully have it ready after the first of the year. And our next ACC meeting is December 13th at 9 a.m. And Mark, do you have a case? Yes. Okay, all right. Does anyone else have one pending in the hopper? Right, exactly, knock on wood. Okay, all right, great. If so, just let us know, and we'll deal with it. Okay. That's everything I have. Other PAB members have anything before I turn it over to the agencies?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay,
Good.
all right, awesome. So we can just go down, maybe we'll start at this end, since we usually start at this end. We'll start up here. So,
Morning.
Sheriff. good
So,
morning.
as we end 2022, my office has initiated 8 total complaints for misconduct.
Okay,
Only 3 of them have been
ACC.
ACC complaints. You disposed of the one. We have another one scheduled, and the other one is actively being investigated
Okay.
that Mark will schedule with
Right.
you. The rest of them were internal issues that were not citizen-driven
Right.
or citizen-related, and one is a civilian internal.
Okay.
So overall, I think as you go down and you start listening to folks speak, the amount of contacts we have with people.
Yeah.
8 citizen complaints is
Pretty good.
remarkable.
Pretty good.
So, one of the things that to just update you on is that we're almost fully, I believe we are only a handful of people from being fully implemented with our in-car camera and body-worn camera system.
That's great.
So that's been a process. I think
Right.
we've discussed that with you. It's a
Right.
pretty large process. I believe 140 cameras, about 100 plus in-car camera, body-worn camera systems that are out there. And just the nuances with it, I think that a lot of people don't understand is that I think Ford does this intentionally, but when they build cars each year, they make one small little tweak to it to make us buy more stuff in order to meet that tweak each calendar year when we
Right.
upfit it with whatever. And so we're seeing the nuances with a 2019 versus a 2023 Ford,
Right.
what goes in them, how they work, and making sure that our civilian staff are now in a position to receive all the data, which they are. I was up there last week, just asking some of the folks that are reviewing the in-car camera and the body-worn camera footage and asking them how it's going. Remarkably well. What are they seeing? And 2 of the ladies were just absolutely astonished at how kind and collected and I think just overall sensitive to people that on these videos that they're seeing. They're just the remark was was astonishing when it comes to dealing with the public, and it just tells you, and they see not only our video, but we also see allied agencies. If we have contact with them, we'll get their video, and it's unilateral across the agencies. The guys and girls are doing remarkable work when it comes to contacts with the citizens, and they're not against these cameras at all. I grab the deputies up every time I get a chance and ask them, are you good with these camera systems? And they love them. They're absolutely appreciative of the fact that they have them. My SWAT team has it. All my investigators, including my drug investigators, have them. They've been trained on them. They know how to use them. And so far, it's going very well. No,
that's
no
good.
particular issues. So,
Great.
so overall, a good
news.
thing for us, and the amount of complaints are indicative of the work that not only we're doing, but as you go down the line, you'll hear what good work everybody's doing.
Great. All right. Thank you. Anybody have questions? Yeah.
So are you announcing that to the person, like you pull them over and you're like, hey, everything's being recorded with the body cam?
Every time, even when
I
we
think
walk
that's a
in.
great
yeah.
practice,
Even when we
so-
walk into a house, we let everybody.
Make sure. Yeah,
And
'cause
if a
then
subsequent deputy shows up on a scene or an officer, they'll make the announcement that, hey, this is being recorded. And it's
I think
pretty
that
well
changes
known.
the tone of the suspect or whatever, or potential.
We-
If you tell them,
yeah.
hey, right away, then they're like, all right, maybe I should act different. This is all being recorded today.
Yeah, that's what we've seen, but
Good, good.
it's pretty well known that once you get there, that there's a camera. It's pretty visible. It's on, they know it. But still, there's some people it doesn't really matter. They're gonna act a certain way.
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
Well, we are required, and Mike and our retired troopers, they've been working with cameras in the car since the early 90s, I think, and that's always been, trooper so-and-so, you're being stopped for this, and this stop is being audio and visually recorded. It's always been a thing in their language. It's now something that we've got to adjust to,
Right.
and it's a new system for us.
I think it's a good thing. So, yeah, just want to make sure that was consistent.
Yeah. It's helpful for the ACC.
And you guys have seen, right,
Yeah,
you've seen
we
the
have,
video,
yeah.
so you understand what.
Yeah, and it's remarkably clear.
It's,
What, you know,
it makes
like,
a difference between night and day from what you read in the report
Right.
and what you see and what the officer saw.
Right.
With
Yeah.
some allegation, like, for just generically, like, I feel like I was racially profiled. But then when you see the video, you find out that the person wasn't even visible in the car. He couldn't have, or she couldn't have known the race of the driver.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't necessarily know that till you see it in the video. It was really, really
And there's some
enlightening.
things that the deputies, officers have got to learn when it comes, especially with us, because it's very new to my organization with, they have the ability as they're riding down the road, if they see somebody coming up to their rear at 100 miles an hour, getting ready to blow their doors off, they have the ability to start that camera.
Right.
And really can start narrating to the camera what they're seeing as they start to make the pursuit of that individual, stop them, and kind of painting what they're seeing along the way is very helpful. So those are things that they've got to learn, and they are, and they're doing a really good job at it.
yeah, interesting. All right. Thank you. Chief?
Morning.
Good morning.
Just to kind of pick up on what the sheriff was saying, I know we're talking about complaints and inquiries here, but we also get quite a few compliments from citizens. I wish we could share those with you
Right,
guys too.
right.
And when I write a letter of recognition, because I try to write one for everything that we get from the citizen that's positive, I always blind copy the elected officials in town just so they see, because
Right.
it's true, the officers do an incredible job. And everybody wants the cameras, but there's additional pressure to conduct yourself in a professional manner. And not only do we have our review processes, but the state's attorney's office, if it's something that's gonna go to court, they have a whole unit over there that are going through this footage. And they're looking at
right.
everybody's footage from every camera point of view. It does get scrutinized, and I think they do a very good job, all things considered.
Yeah.
We had the one internal investigation this quarter that we brought forward to you guys. It's the last one on the
Great.
list that we have there. We had, going up the quarterly stats, we had 3, I'll call them inquiries. They were called in, and they were able to be resolved at intake with the supervisor who took the call. The other stuff, we do our arrest and release without charges, our investigative detention, and any warrantless search review. We didn't find any problems with any of those that we reviewed. The ones that are listed there by category. And if you have any question about any one of the specific ones, I'll be happy to elaborate on it. Some of them, a lot of individuals end up going to the hospital, either,
Right.
especially in our jurisdiction, from intoxication, drug use. They're just not going to get accepted at central booking before they get cleared at the hospital. So we end up taking a lot of people to Carroll Hospital to get medical treatment, to get checked out and cleared before we charge them. So we'll have to evaluate at that point whether we're going to dedicate an officer to essentially stay around for
Right.
what could be hours or even days, or whether we go to the district court commissioner and apply for charges in lieu of the on-scene arrest. And if we do that, then we would do what we call an arrest and release without charges.
Okay.
So that's what you might see in some of these. And then the top category, we had 3 reportable uses of force. All 3 we found were within policy, and the circumstances, type of incident or outlined for you there. And also, with the internal investigation that was brought to the Administrative Charging Committee, it did cause us and myself to look at our policy, and we made some updates to it.
Okay.
We try to stay on top of these policies, and we use a tool called Power DMS. I know some of us use that tool, which is good because it allows us to, it's a much easier administrative process to review and revise policy and SOP, and then get it out to everybody for electronic signature versus the old days where you had to, send out paper copies and get everybody's signature and everything
Right.
else.
Right.
But there's sometimes policy that we don't think to update until
Something
we have
happens.
something that causes us to really
Right.
take a look at it.
That makes sense.
And when we start looking at the details, we're like, okay, this needs to be updated. So we did update our policy following this
Okay.
investigation.
Great.
Chief, what was the final resolution that, because I think that in that case, if an officer in the city stopped somebody, they were either compelled to write a ticket or compelled to write a warning. They couldn't use like their judgment to say, okay, go on about your business.
Right.
Yes. Well, there was, I think it was in the early 2000s, the state of Maryland required, they were doing a traffic stop, race-based data analysis. I think it was being done at the University of Maryland. So we were required to enter specific information. Then it was a sticker that went on the back of the paper citation. And then eventually, as we evolved into using Delta Plus ETIC system, entered into that. They finished that study and the requirement was lifted. A lot of us still require that data analysis, but there was stuff within our policy that just referenced a time that the procedures don't even exist anymore. So went in there and cleaned up that portion of the policy.
And you had a question about one of the abbreviations.
Oh, yeah. What is CEW point, Chief?
Oh, that's a taser.
Okay.
Okay.
It's conducted electrical weapon. It's like the taser
okay.
actually, how you have like a
Gotcha.
Q-tip, but that's the brand name.
Right, okay.
Taser's the
okay.
brand name for conducted
Kleenex,
electrical.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions? Thank you. Chief Snyder?
Good morning. I
Good morning.
don't know that I have anything more to add. Ditto on pretty much what you've heard so far.
Okay.
With reference to the cameras and all, I view them personally as just, that's the modern equivalent of our old guys, our police notebook. And I
Right.
mentioned it before, we have a group of officers out there, the younger generations, that are just much more comfortable with that.
Mhm.
I think I mentioned before, I went to an accident scene, I was gonna help a guy out, and I started pulling my notebook out, and I had the driver's license and registration. They looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna write this stuff down in my notebook." All right, they pull a camera, they pull their phone out and said, "This is what we do, we
Right.
take pictures of this
Mhm.
stuff." So it's the same kind of thing.
Right.
I think it was, we had a little bit of a learning curve for our folks. We've had the in-car cameras. This is the second generation of in-car cameras we've had. The last generation, the Panasonic units, they had 10, 12 years, something like that. It's a little different when you incorporate the body cameras, because now you're not limited to what you can see
Right.
just from the street.
Dash, yeah.
But the guys have gotten used to it. I think we have 4 years now, we've been using the body cameras. There is a little bit of a learning curve. Everybody will learn because you have to learn how to adjust it. Different people have to wear it in a different manner, otherwise you're not going to see what's going on. Sometimes you do miss, it doesn't always give you the complete view that the officer, as you've seen, so you have to be aware of that. Tall guys have to make the adjustment, shorter guys. Everybody has their own way, and including myself, I wear one as well. But I think it's a great tool, and on a lot of the issues that have come up, a lot of the questions, Tom was talking earlier about, things being resolved by the supervisors. When we have an opportunity, different times, we'll bring somebody in, let them look at what actually took place. And they go, hey, I didn't realize it was like that. I see now where you're
Right.
coming from. And basically, the matter is, they're satisfied, and it ends at that point. So, moving forward, I just think this is modern policing, and it's, technology we should be using.
Right.
Other than that, I don't think we have anything major. Tom talked about citizen contacts where, there's praise and attaboys, as we call them. I usually gauge that, at least in our organization, on the amount of food we get. We do get a fair amount, especially this time of year. So based on what we're getting coming through the
Probably a
door, it's
valid gauge.
generally positive
Right.
at this point.
Right.
But that's it.
Good.
Are there any questions or anything?
Right. Anybody? Okay. All right. Moving down the row.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Not too much going on in the town of Sykesville, although to Ian's chagrin, the criminal element has seemed to have found us here recently. We've had the most auto thefts that we've had in years, and so
Yeah.
the secret's out, I guess, about our quiet little
Right.
town.
Your quiet little
Anyhow.
town where everyone leaves their doors unlocked.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of internal affairs issues, we did have one use of force during this period. That's still under review, but it appears to be within policy.
Okay.
Ironically, as a result of that issue, we got a compliment through our iPro public portal in terms of the way the officer handled that event. Although the officer was a little upset because the person referred to him as a father figure, and he doesn't feel like he's a father figure. Anyhow, other than that, just 2 firearms discharges for putting animals out of their suffering. But other than that, nothing really to speak of.
Okay. Nothing pending, right?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. And I know you're the new guy.
I'm the new guy. They gave me a little bit of stuff here.
Right, okay.
I'll catch on as we go,
Right.
but, so we, and I'm not sure what your time period is, but the information I have is from June through
Yeah,
November. so.
that's, okay.
So they had 9
That's probably more, but-
reportable uses of force. They were all within policy. The only one, maybe just to bring attention to, there was one subject that resulted in injury, and that was a claim of a panic attack. They were treated by EMS, and there was no further medical treatment. I would like to make just a quick comment on the cameras as well. My past agency was just getting them, so I don't have that experience, but my municipal agency had in-car cameras, as does Tawnytown now. And I strongly support and am thrilled that we're getting, thanks to the sheriff's office, we have body cameras ordered, and we'll have them online very soon.
Okay, great.
But I would just offer that you always remember that it is not omniscient, that there are some things that, with the best of intentions and multiple cameras, the officer still may be seeing something that caused them to act some way or another. So just always keep that in the back of your mind, please. But otherwise, it's a great tool, and we look forward to having it.
And everything else quiet so far?
No, it's not quiet at all, man.
Okay. Well,
Are you familiar
trial
with
by
the,
fire?
Are you familiar with the term maelstrom?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Apparently you haven't read a paper in a while there.
No, I have.
But,
Just hoping.
But look, we're going to take it step by step,
Yeah.
and again, the sheriff's department has been very supportive of us. And if I may I give you guys my phone number so you have
Oh,
that?
yeah, sure, please do.
It's 443-289-1419.
Okay.
And then here's the secret number.
Ah,
443-282-4.
I'm sorry.
443,
It is going out in public, you know.
fine, 282-4777.
It's like, it's not secret anymore.
Carroll,
Right.
Carroll County.
And those aren't even his numbers, it's the mayor's number I think given out, so, yeah.
But anyway, if I can help or you need something, please feel free to call.
Great, great.
Well, welcome.
Yes.
Good luck
welcome.
with getting everything
Yes,
straightened out.
I appreciate it, thank you.
right.
The chief's being modest. He's got a great background. He'll do very, very well up in Tawnytown. He's got a wonderful history in law enforcement, so, and at varying levels, so he's going to be a good addition to this group.
Well, that's good to hear.
I agree.
Good to hear.
Thank you.
Thanks for the help, and we appreciate the support to the municipal police
Yes.
departments. I know, thank you. It's been good.
Anyone else have any other comments for the good of the?
So just as far as year-end reporting, is there
Yes.
anything we need generally in terms of staffing trends or any other types? So we got good information there on the camera side.
I'll start working on that. I'll start working on that in the next week, probably. So if I nudge you, I'll email you if I have data information that I need. But I think I've got it pretty good. It's not gonna be a super detailed report, because we don't have that kind of PAB or ACC. One quick, this is Stacy's reading list. So I picked up this book. It's called Walk the Walk: How 3 Police Chiefs Defied the Odds and Changed Cop Culture. It was an interesting read. It's the 3, let's see, it's been a while since I read it. So there are 3, and they're all large departments. Stockton, California, Longmont, Colorado, and LaGrange in Georgia. But it was just an interesting look at societal expectations and the challenges presented by managing law enforcement agencies, and how you make change in a culture that is, at least to some extent in those areas, a little bit resistant to it. But it was a very interesting book, so I recommend it. Okay.
Go, guys, we ought to collaborate on a book.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
There you go.
A good retirement plan.
I mean, obviously, much different than the kinds of stuff that are the challenges up here, but each jurisdiction has its own unique challenges and own things that they're trying to deal with. And so it's just interesting to see, some strategies that worked in those particular instances. So throw it out there, just for kicks, in your spare time, right? If I don't have any other stuff, Tim, do you have anything that we need to talk about? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you all very much. And like I said, I'll get working on that year-end report. It's just coincides with the end of my work here, which is crazy, but if I need data, I'll let you know.